Good morning, esteemed panelists, invited guests, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Onyeka Emeka, and on behalf of MTN Nigeria, I would like to welcome you to the very last masterclass for the Revv program Season 1, which has been tagged the Yellow Clinic. You may recall that the Revv program is MTN Nigeria's give back initiative targeted at SMEs to support them as they relearn, rethink, and retool their businesses for growth during and after the COVID pandemic. The program has consisted of masterclasses in key business areas ranging from financing, sales and marketing, customer and stakeholder management, digital journeys, and of course, people management, all effectively delivered by our very own MTN executive leadership alongside renowned subject matter experts. In addition, the Revv program will comprise of technology, productivity, marketing, advisory support, which will be offered to select SMEs to help them along their journey towards digital economic growth. So far, we have held 9 highly engaging masterclasses with over 40 subject matter experts as panelists, 6,000 collective participants, and more than 1,500 questions raised. The enthusiasm with which each of the sessions has been received has been nothing short of remarkable. We are honored and excited to be able to contribute our part towards empowering the Nigerian SME. The Yellow Clinic is an opportunity to round off the Revv program by attempting to answer all your pertinent questions. Though the masterclasses were highly interactive and we answered as many questions as we could, we know there are still many left unanswered. So today, we have with us here all of our MTN Nigeria executive leadership in one session. And they are here for only one purpose, to answer all your questions. So today's session represents what the Revv program has stood for from the beginning, an opportunity for SMEs to learn directly from business leaders with a wealth of knowledge, skills, and experience in running a successful and sustainable business. So ladies and gentlemen, get out your pens and your notepads, as today definitely promises to be the ultimate masterclass. Now, let me introduce our moderator for the day, Olu Akomu. Olu is an experienced commercial leader with unusual diversity of experience in consumer goods, manufacturing, healthcare, telecommunications, and financial services, all with a successful track record. He has a deep wealth of cross-industry innovative experience, which is invaluable in providing strong strategic leadership to organizations. Olu was the Chief Marketing Officer at Airtel Nigeria. Prior to that, he headed the Retail and Consumer Banking Division of the then Bank PHB. He has also worked in various leadership positions in Insight Communications and Glasgow Nigeria Limited. His leadership experience also includes the international not-for-profit and social development sector at the Population Services International. Notably, yes, I need to pause here, notably, Olu was also the General Manager, Consumer Marketing with MTN Nigeria, where he played very critical roles in the phenomenal growth of MTN Nigeria in its first 5 years. Presently, Olu is the Executive Director, Retail Banking at the First City Monument Bank, FCMB, where he oversees the bank's retail strategy. A thought leader in strategy, marketing, and management, whose articles and public presentations are highly sought after in the consumer business community. Olu publishes a blog on strategy and public policy, and is an enterprise digital transformation leader, strong galvanizer of people, and an organizational builder. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us today as we look forward to a very engaging session. Over to you, Olu.
Thank you very much, Oye. Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to this last leg of the MTN Revv program Yellow Clinic. It promises to be a very interesting session. Let me start by introducing the panelists, the MTN very senior executives. We have a very star-studded panel here today. Let me start from the Chief Financial Officer, Modupe Kadiri, the CFO and Executive Director of MTN Nigeria. He leads an amazing group of financial wizards that handle financial operations, risk management, performance management at MTN, ensuring that the business remains capable and it continues to deliver on its promise. Modupe, please welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Next, thank you, Modupe. The next executive on the program is Linda St. Nwafo, who is actually our chief hostess today. Linda is the Chief Enterprise Business Officer of MTN Nigeria, where she's primarily responsible for supporting the MSMEs, large enterprises, and the public sector. She has over 2 decades hands-on leadership experience in telecommunications and the ICT sector. Linda, please welcome to the program, or you're actually the chief hostess.
Thank you so much, Olu, for having me. I'm very glad to be here.
Our next panelist is Ungowa Nwoye. Ungowa is the Chief Customer Relations Officer at MTN, and she leads the entire customer operations of hundreds of millions of customers. We know how big MTN is, of MTN Nigeria, overseeing the business transformation process in this area. Ungowa is a management professional with more than 25 years experience across various industries, including telecommunications, management consulting, oil and gas. We are going to be learning a whole lot as SMEs from her today. Thank you, Ungowa. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Olu. Glad to be here.
Our next panelist, the people leader, Chief Human Resources Officer of MTN, Esther Akinukawe. She's the Chief Human Resources Officer of MTN Nigeria. In this role, she provides leadership for best-in-class people management solutions and practices aimed at driving outstanding employee experience and support the achievement of the strategic business objectives of MTN Nigeria. Esther, your people want to see you. Wave your hand.
Good morning, Olu, and good morning to all the panelists. Wonderful to be here. Looking forward to an insightful session.
Thank you, Esther. Our next panelist is Tobechukwu Okibo. Tobechukwu is the Chief Corporate Services Officer of MTN, and he leads the company's strategic approach towards enhancing its corporate reputation, particularly as regards engaging and managing critical stakeholders, in addition to projecting the company's image as a good corporate citizen. Tobechukwu, Stakeholder Management in Chief, please wave your hand. Let your people see you.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Truly star-studded today. Anthony Obi is also on the panel. Anthony is the Acting Chief Marketing Officer of MTN Nigeria, also responsible for business intelligence strategy and at MTN. Anthony shapes the business strategy of the business of MTN by providing actionable insights, data-driven and market research that mobilizes efforts for cross-functional teams to deliver revenue targets. He has fostered a deep culture of fact-based, evidence-based decision-making in the marketing department of MTN, with very strong impact on the bottom line. The public can see the numbers. Anthony, greet your people.
Yeah.
Wave your hand.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm sure that the next 2 hours is going to be very exciting for all of us.
Thank you, Anthony. The next chief is Adekunle Adebiyi. Kunle is the Chief Sales and Distribution Officer at MTN Nigeria, responsible for all those sales. In those days, we sell Richard Car, but Kunle is the man that is in charge of bringing the money. Chief Sales and Distribution Officer at MTN Nigeria. responsible for the entire sales and distribution strategy, retail penetration, visibility, primary and secondary sales, and business growth initiatives across MTN Nigeria nationwide. Adekunle Adebiyi, you're welcome to the program. Please, Kule, greet your people.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Let's do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kule. We look forward to learning from you today. Next chief on the panel is Olubayo Adekombi, Chief Transformation Officer, MTN Nigeria. Bayo is the Chief Transformation Officer of MTN Nigeria, driving holistic program aimed to accelerate business and financial performance through business re-engineering, innovation, and advanced analytics. Bayo combines 19 years of cognate industry experience in strategy, marketing, analytics, and business transformation from the two largest economies in Africa, Nigeria and South Africa. Bayo, you're welcome to the program. Wave to your people.
Looking forward to learning with everyone this morning.
Thank you, Bayo. We look forward to learning from you today. Next chief and panelist on the program is Srinivas Rao, popularly known within MTN as Srini. Srinivas Rao is the Chief Digital Officer of MTN Nigeria. With 23 years of experience in information and communications technology, Srinivas is responsible for driving the digital transformation program of MTN Nigeria and mandated by the group and the board. That's a tall responsibility. And scaling the digital services of MTN Nigeria operations. We're going to learn a lot from you because we're now in the digital world. Srini, welcome to the program. Please greet our audience.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here, and greetings to everyone, all the panelists as well as the participants. Hope to contribute to this discussion. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Srini. The next chief on the program is the Chief Technical Officer of MTN Nigeria, the man that runs the network, Mohammed Rufai. Mohammed is the Chief Technical Officer and manages the overall network infrastructure of MTN. Wow, that is from Sokoto to Calabar, everywhere. When you see MTN everywhere, that's Mohammed. Mohammed has over 19 years extensive leadership experience in the areas of telecom strategy, network operations, planning, and project management. Mohammed, you are welcome to the program. Please wave and greet all your people from Sokoto to Calabar.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you, everybody. So in terms of what we're going to be doing today, we'll be following, we'll be going through 3 sections in this program in the course of the speaking to the panelists. The first section we'll be discussing is funding and financing, just for you to follow us. Then we'll go to the second section, which will discuss how small businesses can get customers and keep them. And the third section, we will be discussing how you can run your business and manage them very well, running your business and managing them well. That will be our third section. We're going to speak about people, technology, process, stakeholder management. Then the last section will be how we put all this together for you to run a very good, profitable business on a sustainable basis. So let's go into the discussion. We'll be spending over between 80 and 90 minutes so that we can leave some room for question and answers at the end of the program. We promise that it's going to be fun, it's going to be interesting, it's going to be a lot of learning. If you are ready, we are shooting now to funding and financing the first part of the webinar. And the first question will be going to the Chief Financial Officer of MTN Nigeria, Modupe Kadiri. Modupe, if you can have Modupe on the screen. Modupe, one of the very big questions in this last series of webinar have been funding and financing for SMEs. And if I put on the cap of an SME, now I need to grow my business. I have started, I need to grow my business. I need to raise funds. I need to find funding. I need to find financing from investors and from banks. or a combination of both? How do I go about it? Some of these investors or banks will even ask me to give them a funding proposal. How should I, as a small business person, put together a funding proposal for my business? How do I even know the kind of funding that I need? Is it a bank loan? Is it an investor money? Or is it my own money? All this kind of funding, are they the same? And what do they mean? We are very privileged to have the Chief Financial Officer of MTN here, who is going to do justice to that question. Modupe, please, over to you to shoot and tell us and educate us on these issues on funding and financing for SME. Modupe, over to you.
Okay, good morning all, and Olu, thanks for the questions. I'm sure most of our audience will be wondering, how to tackle those questions. So I'd like to put it this way: let's keep it simple, and let's, do the put things first, basic stuff. I think before you even talk about funding or business planning or proposals, you need to answer at least 4 questions. And once you're able to answer these questions correctly, then the money will always follow. So you have to have clear answers to these questions. So first one is identify your industry. It sounds basic, but you must know which industry you are in. Is it retail, wholesale, service, manufacturing, or whatever it is? But more importantly, you need to clearly identify your business, because it's all these things that you're going to be putting into your funding proposal or pitching your ideas. So you need to know exactly what it is that you are doing. Second thing is that you need to also identify who is your customer.
Hello?
Who is your customer? In other words, who are you serving? And I'm sure the other panelists will be out there to also answer that question for you, or to help you get some ideas into how you can answer that question. Because you cannot market and sell to customers unless you know them. You need to know how you're going to deal with them. And then after you've identified the industry you are in, you've known your customers, then you have to explain the problem you're trying to solve. Because at the end of the day, any business is out to make money. So you're basically going to solve some problems out there. So if that is the case, you need to be able to show how you're going to solve the problem. So you see, if you're able to answer these 4 questions, then the rest of the other questions that Olu asked would follow. So basically about funding. When you want to start up your business, you have 2 types of funding. You have your equity funding and you have your debt financing. And it's oftentimes, equity is basically, monies you get from yourself, your relatives, your close friends, associates, who would basically put money into your business to enable you to start off on a sound note. The good thing about equity funding is the fact that, you do not, it's not something you have to repay back, it's something that is invested in the business. And then you'll be able to pay dividends or something like that as you go along. The next type of funding which people also tend to lose sight of is actually, when you reinvest those profits back into your business, or when you are growing organically. So rather than paying out dividends, you actually have money that you put back into your business, which you could also use to grow your business. Then the third aspect of it will be the debts, or loans, monies you get from banks. Now, the key thing you need to know about that type of funding is that it's rare for any bank to give you funds if you don't have a track record. So they need to look at 2 things. They tend to look at your historical records, your past maybe 2-3 years performance, your profitability, and then they also look at your forecast, basically what you're projecting into the future to see whether it's viable. And I think if you listen to the first masterclass we had a esteemed panelists who actually tackled those questions on the sources of funds available out there. So those who haven't watched that webinar, I strongly suggest that you log on to the MTN website, and at least you get some more insights on that. So equity, like I said, comes from yourself, family, friends, close associates you put into your business. That's the ones you take, to from loans, either from development institutions or from those specifically set up to aid the SME. So if you did listen earlier to the first webinar, we had directors from the Bank of Industry who availed us or informed us, educated us about the funds out there. You also have access to, from the venture capitalists, the startups. But basically, any investor will be looking to the answers to those 4 questions I mentioned. And one of the questions that usually, comes to play, okay, at what point do I seek for, external funds or debts to borrow money or whatever, to raise funds? I think, like I said, if you know exactly where you're going, you would identify the opportunities in the marketplace. You'll have done your homework, your research, your business plans, your growth strategies, the audience you want to tap, and then that will inform the funds that you require to put into your business. So I don't use any of those big terminologies. It's not necessary. The basic thing is that a business plan or a proposal is putting your ideas in writing, but you must answer those questions. You must answer those questions. Know your industry, know your customers, explain the problem you're going to solve, and show how you're going to solve them. And that's what you scale as you go on in the journey to make your business move from a MSME to SME and to a big industrial company as it were. Back to you.
Thank you, Modupe. Know your industry, know your customers, the problems you want to solve, and how you're going to solve them. But Modupe, before you go, just to clarify again for our core audience, is equity and bank loan, are they the same thing? When do you need, maybe just to clarify it, when do you need, because that's a general question for you, when do I need a bank loan? Or is there a wrong time to need a bank loan? Or is there a good time for equity?
All the questions I say, it depends. So let's put it this way. One of the ways you could look at it is that when you raise equity, in other words, for equity is shares. You sell shares in your company. So when you sell shares, that basically gives the owner of the shares or the shareholders a stake of your company, a piece of the company. So if you have a share capital of, let's say, 100,000 naira, and you sell shares to, say, about 20 or 30%, so those 30% are shareholders. So what they've done in effect is they've looked at your business, they found it viable, and they decide to put money into the business to let it go. Now, what they expect in return are what you call dividends or a return on their investments, subject to the performance of the company. Now, if the company is big enough and it scales and is listed on the stock exchange, for instance, some may also be looking for what you call capital appreciation. In other words, an opportunity to get the latest value, the market valuation of the company. So that just tells you that with equities, you could have listed companies or unlisted companies. So when you are listed, it gives the liquidity such that you know that anytime you can bail out if you wish. If you're unlisted, it means you have to look for a willing shareholder to take over equity from you. So that's on that. With respect to debt is a different ballgame altogether. Now, it's basically seeking a loan to finance either your expansion plans or projects or whatever it is, such that the bank, depending on which arrangement you put in place, but basically the banks will come, offer you a facility with a fixed or floating rate of interest, which you are supposed to pay over time. So that does not make the banks or the finance institutions shareholders. It just means that they are providing funds for you to run your business. So with that respect, the duty of the company then is to pay up its obligations. And once they paid off the loans, whatever remains of the business goes to the valuation of the business and it goes from there. So I said it depends on back to, industry-wide, it's agreed that equity is the cheapest form of finance because you don't really need, there's no pressure on you. As the company grows, subject to performance, you would, pay out a dividend. On the other hand, with the debt, you are obliged performing or not, to pay. Otherwise, they'll come after you. And if you cannot pay, then you could face the prospects of liquidation. Basically, somebody comes to take over your business. So at what point? I would say it depends on what you're trying to achieve. You see, like I said, again, those 4 questions, I'm going back to them because for me, that is the starting point. You see, you don't go about seeking funds when you don't know what you want to use the fund for. You don't go about raising money when you cannot create value from what you're raising money. If you're not careful, and that's what happens to most of the small businesses that you've seen, they have a brilliant idea. It starts off on the right note, on the bright note, but there's no discipline in terms of what you wanted to do. So either they get derailed, the monies are diverted, and then all of a sudden the businesses do not grow. So, and that is where you struggle. And that is why, again, I would want that framework to be the basis in which you articulate your ideas, in which you go and pitch to anybody. And like I've said, take it from me, guaranteed. All right, the money will always follow the ideas. Money follows ideas. So you cannot raise money ahead of the ideas. You have to have the ideas, the business plan of what you want to do, and money will always follow. So it's always easy to raise any amount of money as long as you've been able to articulate and present your ideas in a succinct manner, such that anybody can see where you're coming from. And I think that's why it then would tell you, that would then inform your choices of whether you want to go through equity, or whether you want to go through debt. Final point on this issue of debt and equity. So if you look at the economy today, you find out that interest rates are low, all-time low. So is it a good time for you to raise funds? It probably is. But it is provided you know what you're going to use the money for, and you're going to use it in a responsible manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Modupe. Money follows idea. Don't raise money when you don't know what you want to do with it, because you're going to burn your fingers. Will nuggets of wisdom of finance there. Thank you. We will be going to the next section, which is getting customers and keeping them. But a little bit of pause, and apologies for me. I missed introducing the Chief Information Officer of MTN Nigeria, Randy Bikraj. Randy, my apologies. It's all in cause of time to get speed. Randy is in charge of, going to say a lot of Randy talk about IT and IS. He's in charge of company-wide strategy, backend systems of MTN Nigeria. Randy, my apologies. We're going to see you very soon. Thank you very much. Now we go to the next section, which is we've listened to Modupe tell us about how to raise money. You have an idea, you know what to do. You need to know, you have an idea, the money follows the idea. Now you've got investors you'll be able to pitch. You'll have investors who are going to support you. How do you get customers? And how do you keep them? That's what we're going to be discussing over the next 15 minutes or so. And my next question goes to Anthony. Anthony Obi, who is the acting Chief Marketing Officer. Anthony Obi, this is your question. Now I've got funding, like I said, and I need to get customers. And we're in the digital age. How do I get customers in large numbers in this digital age? And for a whole lot of us who are SMEs, it's not just one thing with the SME market, that we are so many. There are so many of us. Many of us may be selling the same thing. We are competing in the same market. What do I need to do as a small business to ensure that it's my product or services that the customers will prefer, and it is me that they will keep coming to buy from, especially in this digital age? Anthony, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olu. I really like the tagline, money follows idea. I'll reframe it a bit. Money follows profitable ideas, good ideas. I think that's the starting point, really. Would we really captured it? The first thing, which is very important, when it comes to marketing, we start with the basics. We need to be very clear in terms of our target market. Who is our target market? Who is this person that need our product? We need to have a clear understanding of who our target market is, where they live, who they are, where they work, their income level. I was talking about customer segmentation, being clear in terms of who you want to target. That's the starting point. Once you have that understanding, then you now start talking about how do my products solve the issues that they have? What are their preferences? Because you already mentioned that in the market today, there's a lot of saturation. We are talking about, if you take, for example, people that are in the educational sector, maybe providing services, university education, secondary school education. There's a lot. So you need to clearly identify who your target market is. You may decide to focus on the nursery schools. That becomes your target market. So you now need to now craft your value proposition to see how do I serve these people better than my competition? And there are a number of ways that you can do that. You could decide to, based on price, you want to be the cheapest in the market, which most times is not really a very good position to be with. Or you can decide to differentiate some other way by offering better value than what your competitions are doing. So these are things that you really need to think very, very carefully about it. Your product must solve a particular need. If it's not solving any need, then you haven't started. The third thing that is also very, very important, assuming that you are able to crack that in terms of coming up with a viable idea that meets the need of a particular customer segment. This is, for me, the starting point, the basics. Now, we now need to start looking at how do I take this product to market? And I think that's really where most SMEs need a lot of help. In the time past, we have seen that it is not necessarily the person that has the best trap to catch rats that wins. People won't go there. It's actually how you are able to now make sure that your audience know about the trap that you have actually said. I'm talking about the rat trap. So that is super, super important. So in this age, I think the SMEs, they have a very good opportunity that is provided by the digital. Sometimes the digital channels are actually better and more effective than the traditional. But again, before you start talking about the digital, you need to also understand your target market. Where do they consume information? Which channels do they use? But I want to talk a bit more about the digital channel because I think that's really becoming extremely important. And I think it's a very, very important channel. If we're a business today and you're not in the digital channel, I think you're missing a whole lot of opportunities. Now, to talk about the digital channels, there are a number of things that are very, very important to start with. If you're a business, you need to have a website. Without a website, it's difficult for your customers to really know what you're doing. So you need to have you need to invest a lot in website. And the good thing about website is that with as little as 100,000, 150,000, you can actually create a professional looking website. So let's say maybe you're in the consulting industry. Let's say you are competing with the likes of KPMG. It's very simple. Ask your developer to go and look at the typical website that you have of the KPMG. They can create that with as little as 100, 150,000. That's really create a big opportunity for you. I give you an example. My younger brother has a law firm, and I can tell you, because he has the website, he got over 15 million deal from just customers going to their website. Somebody from the US saw the website, liked it, and that was what sealed the deal for him. So I think it's important. First and foremost, you need to create a website so that people can actually interact with your products, see the various offerings. The second very important point is also when it comes to digital, especially for small businesses, is a channel that is being overlooked by so many people, but I think is one of the most powerful, most effective, and the good thing that it is free. I'm talking about my Google business. Google My Business. It's very easy, something that you can set up in less than 1 day. You don't need anybody to do that for you. It's one of the most important. And the reason being that it's integrated with the Google search. What people normally do is that when they need any product, and going back to the educational service, the first thing that people do right now is to go to the website, Google, to search what are the best schools around and all that. But if you have a Google My Business account, once people search, the first thing that will come up is that you start seeing the list of all the businesses or schools that are around you. There's a small portion of it that you will see, and that's what most people use. Again, I want to give an example because it's very, very important to bring home this. I happen to also have some experience in this area where I helped a small dry cleaning outfit who started last year, and they are really only operating using the Google My Business. And I'm telling you, in less than 6 months, the volume of business that they got through this channel is phenomenal. You can never believe that. So as a business.
Thank you very much, Anthony. We'll get back to you because there's a whole lot you will need to tell us about digital and so on. We'll still get back so that we can go around everyone because a whole lot needs to be put in the bucket for our discussion today. Let me go to Kunle to amplify more on what Anthony has been saying. Kunle, as a Chief Sales and Distribution Officer, you have MTN has got customers in millions. What does a small business? Kunle is the Chief Sales and Distribution Officer. How does a small business get customers in millions the way MTN has done? And one of our participants in the previous session wanted to run an agri-business, and one of the questions was, we're all selling homogeneous products. We're all selling oranges and tomatoes. And there are a lot of us who are small business people doing agric. How do I differentiate my tomato in agric or my oranges from this or another person who is selling the same orange in the same market, for example? It's very similar to the question that Anthony was talking about, but I'd like to amplify it in the context of the knowledge from MTN and how you've got a whole lot of customers, and how is my orange and tomato, for example, are going to be different from somebody's orange and tomato in the same agricultural business. Adekunle Adebi, Chief Sales and Distribution Officer. If you can have Kunle on the screen. Kunle.
Thank you very much. I think the program today has started on a great note, even for me. So the idea of money following ideas, money following profitable ideas is actually the sure footing. And Tony has actually advanced the conversation even a bit further while talking about why should I buy what you are selling in the first place. So first of all, I think Modupe alluded to the fact that before you even go into the business at all, before you start to say you want to raise fund, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what business am I raising this funding for? So when you understand the business that you are raising the funding for, it's assumed that you have started doing the business. And you gave a good example with reference to an agricultural product. Why should I buy from you and not from your neighbor? And so if you go to a local market in Nigeria today, you will find that most of the people in these markets are actually selling the same thing. So you have a section for rice sellers, you have a section for meat sellers. So I mean, if you go to the abattoir in Lagos, down on the mainland around Agege, you will find that everybody there sells beef, meat, the same thing. The question is, why should I buy from Baba Kafaru instead of buying from Mr. James? These are jamming questions. And I think this is the question that, so the products are the same. Why should I buy from you? And most of these conversations will also, I expect that even my colleague that is managing customer relations will still speak more about it as well, because it's unending. Why you? Why should I buy from me? So a couple of things that you need to do. How do you differentiate your product? Tomato is tomato. They are all ripe. They are all arranged together. It's 5 in a plate, and the 5 is 100 naira. Or onions, because now they say onion is the new Bitcoin in Nigeria. So maybe onion is so scarce. So the people are even now haggling. Everybody wants to buy what's available because it's not available everywhere. Now, if you get into a customer's location, sometimes looking at your mien, looking at the way you dress, looking at your appearance alone can determine whether I'm going to buy from you or not. Anthony mentioned website. I'm not saying it's not impossible to have your tomato on the website because you want to differentiate yourself. You want to carve a niche for yourself. You want to do home delivery. You want to do online purchases. These are possibilities that can be discussed more under digital. But let us assume that 5 of you have your tomatoes arranged at the entrance of Northern Foreshore, because of course, having known your customers, you need to also know where your customers are. And you know that everybody in Northern Foreshore needs to eat tomato. Okay, everybody eats tomato. Now, the moment they get there, there is a choice of who do I buy from? So your appearance, maybe you look so dirty. Maybe your website is tacky. Maybe even the digital channel that you're using is not comprehensible. People can't understand what you have put there. Maybe when they get there, the way you have even arranged your tomato, your environment is so dirty and they don't want to even buy from you. So you need to maintain a clean environment, whether it is online or offline. Okay, your appearance also must be one that is quite attractive to the individual that is going to buy. And I'm saying attractive because I'm talking about you being clean, being presentable as well. If you are hawking bread, for example, people will look at what you really look like, what you're wearing, not expensive clothing, but appearance that is decent before I can buy what I'm going to eat from you. Now, your storage, the way you store your tomato as well. There was a time they said some gentlemen that are selling oranges and so on and so forth used to keep it inside the gutter. Okay, inside the very dirty water that is stagnant, and they come in the morning and they bring it out. You don't expect a repeat purchase. So a repeat purchase from you, because the first time the customer buys, how you treat that customer, whether you're able to stay in touch with the customer, whether you make an attempt to, have a relationship with that customer, are those things that will determine whether there's going to be a repeat purchase from you or not. So there is a repeat purchase, which is, you keep on buying from that customer. And of course, there is a return customer. So if I buy the first time from you and I see your attitude and I see that everything fits into what I've originally described, and I come a second time, that's, of course, I'm a return customer. If you are so good again, and of course, the product that you promise that you're going to deliver to me is what you deliver and the quality meets my requirement, of course, I'll come again and again. Then it will get to a time that I will actually now be phoning you and be telling you to deliver to my house. So you need to start to add value. Maybe your value is additional, will be delivery. Maybe your value you are going to be adding also is that you are going to even say, okay, so if you are buying tomato from me, you will also need pepper. Can I help you to buy pepper? Can I help you to buy onions? So you start to add a bit of add-ons to this product.
Thank you very much. Interesting.
Yeah, the darling of the customers.
Thank you, Kule. You seem to have been hitting a couple of interesting things. Packaging. You seem to be talking about packaging. You can apply that to many small businesses. That tomato example, packaging, how you package your business, related to Anthony's point about your website, reliability of your service. You also said something very interesting. If I'm selling tomato, can I add onions to it? Can I extend more services? Very interesting thing you can apply to many businesses there. Thank you, Kule. Packaging, reliability, and even extend your services. My next set of questions will be going to Gonwa, the Chief Customer Relations Officer. Very interesting as the way the conversation is flowing. Anthony said we should get a website, use digital strategy, use Google My Business. Kunle has told us about packaging, reliability, and we're all doing all these things, and customers are now coming in millions. Ugo, if we now have customers, how do we keep them coming back regularly to buy from us? That's my first question. And that will be relevant to a whole lot of small businesses. How do we keep our customers happy? How do we keep them coming back regularly to buy from us? You've done that very well at MTN. Customers are making calls every day. What can a small business person learn about keeping customers happy, keeping them to come and buy, keeping them to come and do business with you from time to time? How can we be intimate with our customers? That is your area. Over to you, Goa.
Thanks, Olu. The discussion has been great so far.
And you're right, it costs money to build a business. It costs money to build, no matter the size of the business, whether it is the tomato business or onions that Kule has spoken about, or the law firm that Tony has spoken about. It costs some money, some time, some resources to build a business. To find customers is not easy. So it makes a lot of sense. When you have found them, it makes sense for you to also spend time, energy, resources to keep them. It's when you can keep them that you have the opportunity to upsell, as you just said, to grow their custom. So one of the advantages that a small business has, or a smaller business has, is that you have the opportunity to really build a deep knowledge of your customer base. You have the opportunity to get to know them and to serve them personally. It is when you know these customers that you'll be able to know what are the important things that matter to your customer. Tony talked about building a value proposition. And one of the ways to build a good and solid value proposition, something that makes customers keep on coming back, keep on forgiving you when you have problems, is when you have a good understanding of what do they really value and what is your role in those things that they value. Whether you are a tomato business, what is it that they value? Is the essential value in the end that they want their families to be healthy? That they want the ingredients that they use to be the highest quality. What is it that they really value? If you understand that, and the way you understand that is by having a good knowledge. And how do you have a good knowledge? Is by actually interacting with these customers, whether or not you are the chief in charge of the business. In fact, for a small business, it is better for you at that point to be somebody who actually interfaces directly with the customers. So if you aim to keep yourself and your entire team centered on the customer and all that affects them, aside from price, there are things that you have to do. I think Tony and Kunle mentioned about, things about even discovering your business. So after you have discovered your business, your brand, the elements of your brand that make people happy, to be with you, to associate with you, there are some brands that people want to associate with. That is the kind of thing that keeps them wanting to say, I actually shop with these people. There are some values that they have seen. So you have to keep things easy as well. From the point where they are choosing, they are buying, the point when they want to give feedback. It's one of the most important things that you can get from a customer is when they are able to actually give you feedback. They have the time. It takes time to actually say, I want to tell you what I experienced here. I want to tell you about the clothes I bought from you, or about the printer I bought from you, and so on. When you have the opportunity to get feedback from customers, you have to really, really focus on making sure you hear them, that you hear them well, and that you get all those basics right. You use that feedback, it's called the breakfast of champions, to resolve issues and make sure that that you feed back to your business, so that you make sure that one customer's issue resolved is going to help you resolve all others, right? Because what you're trying to do is to keep them coming back. You have to invest in service. Sometimes people look at the idea of service as the cheapest part of the business, but it's actually the most valuable part of the business. One of the things that Kule has said is that service without value, or sales without value, is just one sale. If you want a repeated sale, you have to have the investment in the attitude of service. Consistently good service is not easy. It exposes your values as a business. It helps you, when you are consistently good at service, it helps you to build brand trust. It helps you to build love. People, especially as a small business, people that buy from you early on in your business, when they have seen you small and as you're growing, are those kind of people who will forgive you in the future. When you have given consistently good service at the beginning of your business, people are the ones that are going to sell for you. They are going to become your salespeople who are not on your payroll. They are one of the things that we have seen as MTN is that the customers that joined us between 2001 and 2005 are our strongest loyalists. They are the ones who call us and give us feedback. This is happening here. You don't have network in this village. They are the ones that call us because they feel an ownership of your business. When you have actually also invested your time in listening to them, in relating to them. You have to make it a point, to deliver service and to be a CEO or even CFO, to be a chief servant officer, right? When there are problems, you need to be able to, resolve them very quickly. Take every feedback as a gift. Reach out to your customers for feedback. Be proactive about such things. And that is why one of the reasons why the channels that Tony has spoken about, the social media channels or the web or the websites and so on are areas where customers can meet you and where you can begin to collect their views. And when you collect their views and you analyze those views, you are able to actually understand how to enrich the products that you sell, how to upsell those your products.
Thank you, Hugo. Thank you very much. Very interesting. Let me quote a very nice quote where you said it. I think it's so apt. One customer issue resolved will help you to resolve others. I think that there's a whole lot of nuggets of wisdom of business coming out of this session from every participant. I'm sure you can extract many of these tweets for tweeting. Very apt. Money follows ideas. Then Anthony modified it to money follows profitable ideas. And we've heard about packaging your business for reliability. You have to sell something valuable. Very, very important wisdom that we can apply to a small business and be successful. One customer issue resolve will help you to resolve others. Interesting. And that leads me to bio. You go mention customer feedback. You get a customer feedback, how am I doing? And you use that customer feedback to improve your business, which means that you need to collect information from customers. You need to get this feedback. These questions are going to Bayo Adekombi, the Chief Transformation Officer. If you can have Bayo on the screen, you need to get customers' feedback. As a small business, how should a small business get customer information and customer data? What kind of data should a small business collect? And how should they go about it? How should a small business make meaning out of the customer data that they collect? What should they use it for? There's a whole lot of questions packed there. Or do you want to beat them by all?
Okay, thanks so much, Olu. I think the last session we had is all about understanding the fact that this business is about relationship. And in relationship, you try to know about the person you are relating with. What does this person like? How often does this person buy my product? What are others selling to this person? What is the likelihood that this person will pay me or will not pay me? What are the kind of people I should work with? It's like the story of Ewa going sell. I'm sure a lot of people that I'm talking to understand what I'm talking about. That's the match being with some pepper, ground pepper and all that. And the bestseller, you see the two of them, they always go together. Why? Because like conjoined twins, is a common understanding that he that buys Ewa going will definitely buy bread. So these are little data points around us. Who should I partner with? Who should I work with? So when it comes to how does all of this come together, it's as simple as it rained yesterday. Will it rain tomorrow? Should I need to stock? Or how do I engage my customer when it rains? And when there are changes in situation, maybe it's fasting period, what should I sell? What should I not sell? Or perhaps, is it the first week of the month or second week of the month? These are all the things we call data, because oftentimes we think data is all the things people talk about, all the cool AI, artificial intelligence, deep learning. Of course, that is the end of it. But the fundamental is putting your ears on the ground to understand what the customer is saying, how they are buying, what they are buying, the frequency at which they are buying, and what that means to you. So in essence, some little areas of data collection for a small business can be things as simple as your social media followers. People who are following you, what are they saying about your product? And these are very simple to do. You just go on your Twitter page, Instagram page, Facebook page, and you can copy everything people are saying and carefully look at them. What are the common words that they are using to describe your product? Good, excellent, bad, great. Because when people go to social media, they genuinely express how they feel, And secondly will be things like, what are they saying about my competitors? If I'm selling shoes, is there somebody else selling shoes? If I'm selling, fashion products, is there somebody else doing fashion products? What is this person saying that they like? Maybe that is when I will know, maybe the person offers them a special service that I'm not doing. Maybe that's when I will get to know that the other guy is doing a home delivery service, which I'm not doing. So when I'm able to pull all this social conversation, it becomes really easy for me to really know what others are saying. The other very simple thing that, every business, no matter how big or how small you are, I believe all of us are big time business people. We're just small today, but tomorrow we're also going to be great and big, is to have a way of listening to the customer, where we can give them customer satisfaction form. And this does not have to be a traditional form. It might be a phone call that you make to them. How happy are you about our service, yesterday? Will you recommend us? Of course, there are a lot of technical names they call this thing. But as we are growing, it's just for us to know that this person is happy with us. And if he's happy with us, we can do more business. Some people go the extra mile, or what they call comeback cards. So which means that when you come back again and you show us this card, you will not pay what you paid before. You might pay 10% less, you might pay 20% less. So through this mechanism, small businesses are able to understand what is happening out there, what the customers are saying, and they're able to make their service better. Feedback, continuous insight, what is happening to your business, what competitors are doing, what is happening in the society as a whole, all come together to help you as a business person to know what you should do to make the customer stick to you and buy more with you into the future.
Thank you, Bayo. Comeback cards related to feedback, tracking, a whole lot of interesting things are coming out. But I'd like to, something very interesting I find interesting in the conversation, bringing it home to simplicity. The metaphor of going and bread, and very related to that Bayo mentioned, the metaphor of or analogy of tomato and onion. So that I think Kunle was talking about. So if I'm selling tomatoes and the same person is buying tomatoes for me, maybe I can sell onions. If I'm selling ewagoy, maybe I can sell bread and make more money from the customer. I think Ugo mentioned it. She called it cross-selling. I just wanted to give that example as there's a very practical example of how can we get more, the kind of data we cross-selling. How can we get more from our customer? That tomato, the guy who's buying tomato from me, how can I sell more onions to them? Very interesting analogies. Cross-selling is another keyword we have learned. How do I sell more products to the same customer, even as a small business? More onions to the guy who is buying tomatoes for me. More bread to the guy who is buying ewagoy for me. Very interesting lessons for small business. Let's move to the test section because it's 11 o'clock. We spend our 1 hour. We need to run fast. If we have more time, we still come back to our panelists, but so that we cover a whole lot of the key issues we need to discuss. We are going to the test section of the webinar, which is now that we've learned the wisdom of finance from Modukwe about raising money, money follows ideas. I know the problem I want to solve. I've got money and I run a good business. I've learned how to get customers, and these customers are coming and I know how to keep them. Now, how do I run the business well on a daily basis? How do I run my business well on a daily basis? That's what we're going to be discussing over the next 15, 20 minutes or so. And we're going to start with people. And Esther, please get ready. Esther is the Chief Human Resources Officer of MTN. Where she's responsible for people management. So as a small business, one of the questions that came from the webinar, from the sessions earlier, were that things like, as a small business, how do I get good people? How do I get good staff as a small business? How do I get people with the right skills, the right talent, people with the right attitude to help me with my business? How do I get hardworking, diligent people, people who will work for me as if it's their own business, for example? How do I get this kind of people to work for me? This kind of question, that's a question that came from the last set of discussions, were also something like, how do what kind of, should I have part-time staff or full-time staff? Which one is right? And if I have artisans, for example, there are some businesses where I have to deal with artisans. How do I manage them? So Esther, these are the package of questions that our small business SMEs would like to speak to. Esther Akinokawe, Chief Human Resources Officer of MTN Nigeria. Please share with us your wisdom of managing people. Thank you.
Okay.
Esther.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Olu. This is brilliant. I like the fact that the SMEs are asking the right questions, because I usually say that it's the people that make it happen. So Modukbe talked about funding. Anthony talked about all the things around marketing. Ogonwa has talked about customer management. Bayo has talked about data and analytics and stuff like that. But the key resources that will make all this gel and cause the organization to continue to be a going concern are the people. Those are the key resources that are required. So when you ask all those questions, where do I get the right people from? How do I, hire the right people? They are the right questions you're asking. And I usually talk about two broad skills. So there's the technical competence, and then there's the behavioral competence. I would like to advise that you de-emphasize, and that doesn't mean that it isn't important, but don't pay a lot of attention to the technical competencies when you are seeking to hire the right people. Because you know that there's a cliche, there's a saying that says that you hire for attitude, but you train for skill. So if during the recruitment process, you're not able to get people with the right technical competencies, don't worry. When they come into your business, you will train them. But for the attitudes, like the ownership mindset, like work ethic, discipline, interpersonal relationship, that customer management that Ugo was talking about, and a host of different behavioral competencies, those are the things you should pay attention to. And one key area that SMEs can start to really, take advantage of is the referral process. So I know for the larger organizations, they will send out adverts, people would apply, they will take them through the recruitment process. But for SMEs, especially if you're a micro business or, the small part of the SME business, focus on the referral process. This means that you're leveraging your family and friends, even existing employees, to refer and recommend candidates to you. You are asking them questions, who are these people that are like you? Where can I find them? Can you refer them to us? Because I found you to be honest. I found you to have integrity. I found you to run this business like it is your own. I want people like you. And I tell you, I have a lot of SME friends, SME owner friends, and they tell me that this really works for them, because then they can get the right kinds of people who would, remain with the business for some time. That is one way that you can go about it. The second for me is background checks. Even when you have done, use the referral process, ensure that you conduct background checks on these individuals. Because during the interview process, you're asking them questions around what they have done, their work ethics, trying to probe how well they served the previous employer. But it's better for you to ask that previous employer directly. And how do you do that? All those questions you asked the candidates during the interview, ask them to the past employer. In fact, there's one beautiful question you can ask at the end of the day, which is, if you had an opportunity to rehire this individual, would you do so? If they're able to respond to you affirmatively that, oh, the only reason I let them go was because I needed to downsize or because things were not so okay, or I would hire him in a jiffy, then that tells you that that is an extremely good candidate. Once you bring them in, hold them and make sure that you retain them. And also the guarantor process. Try and get guarantors. Don't just, get them to sign a piece of paper. Interview the guarantors as well. Find out who the individuals are. How well do they know them? Can they vouch for them? If anything goes wrong, can they easily produce them? That's to the first part of the question. Then when you go to the second part, which is, which is better? I think I would go like Modupe, who says it depends. It depends on what you're trying to achieve, okay? So whether it's to hire permanent employees or part-time employees, what is the nature of your business? And what is the nature of that specific role that you're seeking to hire into? If it is artisans, you probably don't need artisans on permanent basis in your business. In fact, it is one area of the business that you can easily outsource. So when you say, oh, contract, that means you can outsource it. There are even areas of business that can be outsourced beyond the semi-skilled or unskilled. I have found organizations that outsource their whole accounting functions, their HR function, their marketing function, you know, technology functions. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. There's no one size that fits all. Just look at whatever fits your purpose. But as you do that, even when you go the outsourcing route, it is important that you have one role, at least on a permanent basis in the organization, that will focus attention on vendor relationships, managing all those outsourcing relationships that you have entered into. Otherwise, you may not get it right. I mean, there's still so much to say, but I know that you would perhaps want me to stop at this point.
Thank you, Esther. I know you can keep going on. I think we are running well with time. We will still be able to come back and get more from the panelists. Some important things which Esther mentioned, referrals. We don't do that a lot. Very interesting as I'm listening to you. That's something we don't do well, even for big business. Referrals, SMEs are part of the community where we are recruiting. And when you get reference from credible sources, you actually are sure that you are getting a good resource. Very important then background check outsourcing. One of the things we can link with what Esther said, link back to finance, is he who you do not need to keep on your payroll for 30 days, don't keep them there because they will just be piling up costs for you. When you need them is when you hire them. I think that's probably what this whole issue about it depends. So we are learning a lot about outsourcing. When do I need and when don't I need to have people on a permanent basis so that I run my business well? Thank you very much, Esther. My next question is going to go to Srini, the Chief Digital Officer. Srini, this is a very passionate question. I'm going to ask it on behalf of young people, youth in Nigeria. You know, we're now in this whole tech business world. A whole lot of our young people are into tech. And there's a whole lot of technology, tech business, SMEs. Many of these tech businesses are starting small, but many of them are going to be big tomorrow. We just heard of a story of one of them that started 5-6 years ago that was bought out for millions of dollars. So this whole area of technology and tech business startups is a big issue. So a question that came from the previous Yellow Clinic was that how can I, as a small business startup, get the right cost-effective developers for my business? Obviously, this is a tech business. What are the kind of options that I should look at? Then there's a question about cloud technology. That is it relevant? What is it? This cloud, is it cloud in the air? What exactly is cloud? Is it relevant to small business? Srini, there's a question for you on behalf of a whole lot of our tech community. Srini, over to you. Srini is the Chief Digital Officer of MTN. He has a lot to share with us. Srini, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Lovely. So I think let's just start with some of the basics. Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about tech startups and small and medium businesses, we are really talking about organizations that are at their infancy, and they're basically looking for the right kind of a model to operate in. And you know, this is where cloud technology comes to the rescue of many of the small and medium businesses, many of the startups, where huge investments in the data centers or big investments in buying servers or storages or solutions. I mean, we are really talking about tech startups, basically, because it is tech startups that require a number of such services, and they need to have a lot of servers, a lot of systems, a lot of storage, hard drives, and processing power to be able to deliver their products and their services. Now, in the space of tech startup, where cloud technologies come into help, uh, cloud basically is referred to any sort of computing technology, any kind of service that is delivered over the internet. I mean, as long as you have access to the internet via your mobile phone, a 5-inch mobile phone, into your laptop or an iPad, or even any other tablet, as long as you have access to these kind of devices, all your information, all your asset and inventory sits in the cloud somewhere, sits across the internet, across the wire. And these resources and tools, they have applications, they have storages, they have servers and databases, including even networking technologies and firewall technologies, as well as softwares that can be accessed over the internet for you to run your businesses. So as long as you have an electronic device that has access to the web, you will have access to all your data and all your services across. And I think this is where Anthony touched base on a number of products and a number of services very well. And in terms of first question that you asked, that you are a startup company, you want to hire some developers. Now we need to try and differentiate between what kind of a startup are you. Are you a tech startup, or are you a regular startup, like, for example, the examples of dry cleaning companies, or washing companies, or any other services that are made available? So if you're one of those traditional businesses which is not tech centric, you would also need access to cloud technologies. You would also need access to cloud services and cloud computing, just like Anthony made mention of Google My Business, for example. You don't need a lot of developers. You don't need a lot of development capabilities and capacities like we used to have in the past. We used to, I mean, in the older, like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago, we had to look for web developers to go and actually build a website for us. We had to look for other developers to do some basic stuff for us so that we can just have a website. Today, with the advent of technologies like Wix, the Wix, I mean Wix.com, or advent of many other Google services itself, they actually provide you a lot of interfaces to help you build the website themselves. But the fact is, many of the businesses don't even need a website today. Once you have done a Google your business will be searchable in Google results. You will have access to as a small startup, as a normal small cleanup, like a dry cleaning company. Like a dry cleaning company does not need a website. All you need is your services and your operating hours and your contact numbers and your location, all of that information to be available on Google. So if somebody searches for dry cleaning companies around me, I should be able to get that result. I should be able to click the button and say call. Nobody goes to a website of a dry cleaning company to check. In fact, within the Google My Business, you will be able to see customers that are ranking you and rating you. So a lot of customers can actually see that you have been rated positively by a lot of customers. And that's where Ugo had made a mention of how your customers are actually selling your own services to others, because people are rating your products and your services on platforms like Google. That's why when you go to many of the restaurants will ask you to rate them on TripAdvisor or Foursquare or something like that, just because if somebody goes to that, wants to search for a Chinese restaurant around you, you would basically be looking for a Chinese restaurant that has higher rating by a lot of customers. So if somebody has, if thousands of customers have rated a Chinese restaurant at 1 star, it's unlikely that you will go to that restaurant as well. If most of the people have rated a restaurant 5 star, 4 star, most likely that you will pick up that particular restaurant to visit as well. So a lot of these technologies, a lot of these cloud computing technologies like Foursquare, TripAdvisors, Google My Business, they're all accessible to a lot of entrepreneurs. So it is important, before entrepreneurs look for developers and strong developers and pay a lot of money to get these developers, they need to build some of their technical know-how and knowledge themselves first to be able to build out some of these assets and inventories. But having done that, when it's time for them to go and look for the developers, let's understand one thing, that we cannot have everything cheap, fast, and good quality. I mean, if you want something good quality and you want it fast, you will have to pay a price for it. If you want something cheaper and good quality, you'll need to wait a long time for it. I mean, that might delay your business go live and launch dates as well. So it's a triangle, you know. It's a triple constraint they talk about. You know, they talk about quality, they talk about timeline, and they talk about price. So one of the angles would need to give to be able to. So entrepreneurs will need to be willing to pay and shell out money when it comes to looking for good quality development work, along with the right timeline that is of their interest. So and I think cloud computing is absolutely available to everybody to use. Open sources accessible to everyone.
Thank you, Srini. Essentially, what Srini has been telling us is that those big technologies that used to be the exclusive preserve of big business are now available, are more accessible to a small business. So that's those big things like, so I think what the message is, let us know those kind of technologies now, because a whole lot of SMEs now have access to the tools that were the exclusive preserve of the old big business through digital technology. Thank you, Srini. Then Google My Business, I think it's come up so many times. Anthony mentioned it. Everyone seems to have mentioned this. Google My Business is a big deal. If you have a good product, like Anthony said, if you cannot be located, it can't be found, then you don't have a good product. Thank you, Srini.
And you know, the good thing is it's accessible, and information around it and training material on it is available on YouTube, and people can just go onto YouTube to see how to configure Google My Business. In fact, the one day that Anthony had mentioned is a lot of time for you to be able to actually configure. If you dedicate like 2 or 3 hours and sit on it, it's something that you can do it very, very quickly.
Thank you, Srini. I'm sure a whole lot of SMEs are listening. How to help themselves. Very good, thank you. The next set of questions we go into our chief hostess, Linda Senuafo, the Chief Enterprise Business Officer. Linda, my first question is, with hearing a whole lot of how small business can help themselves, how can technology help small business people to become more successful, whether they are in retail, how can, and this is what you do. So just speak to, on behalf of all the SMEs, how can you help us? Linda, thank you.
Thank you so very much, Olu, for this opportunity once again to interact with our vibrant MSMEs. These people are very, very close and very dear to our hearts, and they are the reason we are here today. Now, to respond to your question, I just want to reiterate the point I had made before in our technology masterclass. In that masterclass, I did say that technology, as it were, is not an end, but technology is a means to an end. And I just want to reaffirm the obvious, that technology does not really create a need at all times. There is still that very fundamental requirement for sharpened cognitive abilities in establishing the need that exists. That's cognitive abilities that are required to identify the social, economic, or any gap that exists in any market. That's still very, very important and very relevant. Technology can definitely help in identifying those gaps, and also in fulfilling the gaps or the needs that exist, and also closing the gaps that have been identified. Now, having said that, it's just very common for everybody to understand or to say right now that technology has become inevitable in our lives. I am not sure how many of us will be able to exist without the many basic advancements that technology has introduced in our day-to-day lives. So the question for me is no longer whether we should promote adoption of technology tools and solutions in all sectors. I mean, you've spoken about commerce and also the retail, but in all sectors of the economy, the question is not whether we should promote the adoption of technology, but the question for me right now is, can we afford not to do so? So irrespective of the sector, the basic need of every business is to introduce efficiencies, is to drive productivity, is to increase access to market. And invariably, that need is to grow the business. And likewise, the core foundations of business management, which are account management, work planning, service delivery system, customer relationship management, sales and marketing. They are all constant irrespective of the sector. So whether you are in the commerce or in the education, whatsoever sector that you are in, the need to start to use technology to drive your business cannot be overemphasized. Now, if I want to narrow down the sectors that you have mentioned, Olu, commerce and retail, this sector ensures that every good and service that we produce or manufacture finally gets in the hands of the consumer. So for me, the commerce and retail space is a sector with the most urgent need for rapid adoption of technology solutions. You may want to ask me why, but I believe that this space is where there is a full blend of composites and full mix of customer segments with varying degree of needs and varying degree of technology adoption. And this sector also requires substantial process optimization if they have to meet the needs of both the supply and demand side. So my view is that it's either you adopt technology and get on the ride or you die. I said it before and I will say it again, that any business that refuses to bring their business online within the next 5 years should be ready to be outcompeted and should be ready to quit the market, should be ready to die. So what must we do with technology as MSMEs in the commerce and the retail space? The first thing is to bring your business online and make sure that your online presence is up to date. And also make sure that you have the right technology in place, starting with a rugged mobile device. You have to make sure that you're on the right data package to ensure that you are always on and that you're always available to handle customer inquiries and customer queries. For me, this is the very important part in your journey towards digital inclusion. You also have to make sure that you identify the online and social media applications that are relevant in your market. In Nigeria at the moment, we know about Facebook, we know about Instagram, we know about Twitter, and many other applications. And Instagram has become more or less a marketplace. So you have to make sure that you identify the relevant applications and the social media platform that you have to be in. And when you are on that platform, you have to make sure that you create the right atmosphere, the right kind of persona, and the right positioning that will attract the right type of customers. So for example, your business page should not be your personal page. You have to be deliberate on what you post and how you create the content on your business page, because those are the things that contribute to this decision-making process of the consumer. Now, once your business is online, the next thing will be, how do you access new market? How do you deepen access to market? And how do you make your services known to more people? My colleagues have spoken about multiple advertising channels like Facebook ads, like MTN mobile advertising platform that is currently in existence, and even Google ads that everybody has spoken about to reach more customers. Some of these platforms leverage tons of data to create extensive intelligence that targets the specific type of customers that have the interest in your business. Once you do that, the next thing is payment. Payment is extremely critical and essential to make sure that your business supports different payment channels, because different customers have different technology support and payment option that they require. So you have to make sure that your business is enabled to provide different payment options to your customers. And as soon as you do that, we have to also invest in what we call ERP applications. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Application. This is some kind of application that will help you to manage your inventory, to manage your stock, that will help you to manage your order, track where your customer order is in the delivery life cycle. Now, depending on where your business is, you can start with a simple Microsoft Excel application and evolve to applications like SAP Business One or Sage. Now, finally, it's important that you pay very strict attention. My colleagues have spoken about that, to your customers and gauge their pulse intermittently. And at any point in time that they interact with you, it's important that you get feedback on how that interaction went. So it's important that you invest in a CRM application, what we call a customer relationship management application, that will help you to seek and obtain feedback from your customers. Now, customer feedback is very important because it's important to helping you to refining your processes and creating improvements in your value delivery system so that your business is well positioned to meet and exceed customer expectation. Now, from Olu, you did ask me, what are we doing as MTN? We in MTN, from a macro perspective, we believe in MSMEs. And at a macro level, we are very much aware of the place that they play in the market. And we are very much aware of the contribution to the GDP of this economy. And therefore, we are continuously exploring opportunities to build capacity within this segment. Now, the Revv program, for example, is an expression of our commitment to this segment. We have had 9 masterclasses so far, and I believe these sessions have provided new ideas to these SMEs on how to better manage and scale their businesses. On an industry level, our vision in MTN is to lead the delivery of a bold new digital world. And this vision is underpinned by our belief that everyone deserves the benefit of a modern connected life. And by implication, what we are saying is that every business, whether it's a micro business, small business, medium business, or large business, equally deserves same benefit. And that is the ethos of operations and the guiding principle behind whatever service we deliver. Now, if you look at it from our core propositions, we have developed specific propositions for our SMEs, from our voice services to our data services to our SMS bundles. We have specific solutions that address the need of these SMEs. And we also do provide ICT services that are adjacent to our core services. So if you get on our website, www.mtnonline.com/business, you will see a plethora of services that we offer to SMEs. We do have vertical specific propositions also that are targeted to education, to health, to agriculture, to religious organization. And we do all these solutions to just help them to support their client engagement, to help them to create digital access for their staff, and also to improve the operations. We have a PABX solution that's hosted in the cloud. You don't need to invest in a PABX independent PABX. You just need to subscribe to this solution, and you have access to the service, and you pay as you use. Now, during the course of this program, to close, I know that you have given me so much time, but I think that there's so much to say to our SMEs, and I have this one singular opportunity to do so. Now, during the course of the program, we have taken feedback that many of our MSMEs do not have a good understanding of some of the ICT applications that they need to effectively manage their business. We also have taken feedback that there is no single unified platform where all the applications they need reside for ease of access. So as a listening organization, my team and I have already gone into work, and working with our regulator, we will soon be birthing a very useful CRM application made specifically for SMEs in Nigeria to manage their customers, to obtain customer feedback, and offer personalized discount to support their request for payment in installments, and also to provide payment options to their customers. We are also developing a platform that will serve as a marketplace for all MSME ICT needs, and we will be leveraging the strength of our very extensive ecosystem to provide many software applications for SMEs. So we have a lot in the works for our very dear SMEs, and we just ask that you keep your ears to the ground and watch this place. Thank you, Olu.
Thank you very much, Linda. The truth is, to summarize what Linda said, is don't go anywhere. Everything you need is here. That's the long story. Everything you need is here. That's what I think she's been trying to tell all our small business, and I'm sure they've heard you. I think the other thing to emphasize in terms of something that we could tweet about, I found out the way you said it very interesting. If you don't bring your business or your hustle online, you will be out-competed. It's something we can tweet. As a small business, these are the days of digital. Whatever you are selling, including tomato and onions that we've been talking about, if you don't bring your business, your hustle online, you are likely to be hard-competed. Thank you very much, Linda. The next set of questions is going to Randy Bikraj, the Chief Information Officer. Randy, my apologies once again. Let's have Randy. Very important question on technology for Randy. Part of the question that small business people have asked is that technologies have a shelf life. New technologies come regularly, and they make obsolescent the technologies that we are using currently today. And this is a regular phenomenon with a whole lot of our small business in terms of their choice of technology. And there are always also a lot of different kind of technologies come from time to time. So the question is, how do I, as a small business, given the obsolescence of technology and the fact that there are always so many of them, from time to time. How do I determine which one is fit for my purpose as a small business? Randy, I hope you followed my question, or do I need to repeat? Randy, over to you.
Hello, Olu.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you very much.
I followed your question. I hope you can hear me. I thought you had a technology challenge earlier on. That's why you missed my introduction. No problem. Thanks for the question. And yeah, it's a very interesting question, especially where we are with regard to technology and technology obsolescence. Technology costs are extremely important to small businesses who are just starting up. And when you're in a startup situation, you don't have a lot of funding to put towards technology investments. So you have to be very prudent with where you put your money. And if I refer to what Srini mentioned and what Linda mentioned in terms of how important it is to have online presence, look at cloud technologies as opposed to having to build big data centers, deploy servers, storage, networks, etc. It's important for small businesses to look at alternative technologies that's available. And Srini also mentioned the availability of open source applications that would very easily support small businesses. I mean, when you go into a larger corporate and larger enterprises, yes, they are more tending towards the larger OEMs such as your Oracles and your Microsofts, etc. But for a small business, to be able to afford those sort of robust major solutions is certainly out of the way. And investment in technology is something that is an ongoing thing. And you have to continue investing in innovative technologies to grow your business. Technology is there to enable your business. And you should, as a small business, not have to focus all of your energy and time on technology solutions. And this is why there's so much available within the cloud space. I mean, something as simple as Office 365 from Microsoft gives you your entire Office suite, your Microsoft Word, your Excel, your email client. If you want to set up a business, online presence is extremely important. But at the same time, when you want to service your customers, you need things like email, chat capabilities. You need to also use technology to promote your business. And our social media is based all on technology, but it's technology that is freely available. It's things like Facebook, Instagram, where you use to promote your business. It's all freely available. So I would recommend for small businesses to look at the most popular, cheaply available online cloud-based solutions for a startup. As your business grows, as you're focusing your time and effort and energy on growing your business, you start growing your technology. And that's when you start investing more into perhaps on-premise solutions when you're a large organization. But as a startup, I do recommend that you look at what is available online in the cloud. Linda mentioned a number of initiatives that MTN enterprise business is undertaking, giving access to SMEs to a large host of services, platforms, products that's going to be available on the enterprise marketplace. And these are typically areas that I would recommend SMEs to look at. Thank you, Olu.
Thank you very much, Randy. Again, Randy is emphasizing some of this we had from Srini. Some of those big things that only big corporations could do in the past are now available, more accessible to small business through cloud technology. I think that's a key message. And also said something very important, that there's a whole lot of free access to technology online, which we can leverage for our business as SMEs. Thank you very much, Randy. We have to move very fast. My next question will be going to Mohammed. Mohammed, the Chief Technical Officer. The question for Mohammed is that how can we increase broadband access in rural areas or to rural areas to support farmers, smallholder farmers? We have millions of them in agri, for example, or people doing things like solar energy in the rural areas and connect our rural micro entrepreneurs better to the city and urban economy. When we do that, we will increase prosperity in the rural countryside, and broadband has a critical role to play in connecting our rural areas to the markets in the urban and city area. Mohammed, the question is, what is MTN doing to increase broadband access to our rural communities? Mohammed, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olu, for that very important question. And I would like to, first of all, refer to what the other panelists have mentioned. I think Anthony mentioned presence on the internet, website, online presence. Srini gave information about cloud computing and cloud services that are available, which Randy emphasized. But what is important here is that all these things for these things to be accessed in order to improve the efficiency of any business, you need connectivity. And you need that reliable connectivity that is good enough for you to be able to access those services. I'll give a simple example. If you have a shop and you need to manage your inventory, you need to know what is coming in, what is going out, what you have sold, what you need to buy, and what is the flow, what is really in demand. And the normal POS system, point of sale system, or inventory management system, from what has been described, you don't need to buy a server, you don't need to buy that application. All you need is to subscribe to that on the internet. And all you need is a simple internet connection. You don't need a dedicated link. And then you can use those applications from the internet with that, over that connectivity. And as you rightly said, with regards to rural areas, these things that are available and the people that operate from rural areas, be it the farmers or any other business, cannot be left out, because they also deserve these solutions to be able to improve the efficiency of their businesses. So the challenge with rural coverage, from the start, normally the rollout starts from urban areas, and then it goes out to the rural areas. The solutions that are being deployed in the urban areas are designed for high capacity and a large number of people. And those solutions, both from the economics and the capacity that they provide, are not very, very suitable for rural areas. But from the MTN side, we have tried a lot of solutions. We have done satellite solutions, which will provide the basic 2G coverage in the rural areas, but do not have the capacity to carry large data or provide the reliable connectivity that I've mentioned earlier. And this is really the challenge. I'm glad to say that these technologies are now evolving. The 3G services are now being deployed over satellite, and they're quite efficient. And we have managed to find cost-effective solutions that can be deployed in rural areas in order to provide these services. So we have these advanced satellite systems where we can put a mast and then put a satellite, and then that area will have internet connectivity. We also have the relay solutions. We have a number of other solutions apart from the relay, which can be used to provide cost-efficient internet to the rural areas. So apart from the basic 2G voice and the 3G, we are looking at even extending our 4G eventually to all the rural areas, because that is where you need that's where you get high-speed connectivity for you to be able to use these solutions. In addition to what MTN is doing, which is deploying these cost-efficient solutions, and we are deploying thousands of them. In the next few years, we are going to deploy at least 1,000 of these sites every year, and we will continue to expand. This year alone, we have built around 400 of these solutions. We have gone to over 400 villages. We're expanding area with at least 1,000. There is also a clear plan from the federal government, which is the National Broadband Plan, which gave a target to say that 90% of Nigeria's population should be covered with 4G by 2025. And all the operators are aligned, and we are doing our best to ensure that this is realized for every SME and every entrepreneur to be able to get access to the internet wherever they are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. What you are saying is music to my ears. In Nigeria, we're speaking as all Nigerians and patriots. If we solve digital inclusion and we solve financial inclusion, we probably will solve 70% or 80% of our poverty challenge, or create a Nigeria where prosperity is shared much more widely for all of us. So please keep up the good work, and well done. It's good to hear the progress that MTN is making in this area. The next question, we have to move fast, to bear the Chief Corporate Services Officer or Stakeholder Management. SMEs are part of communities. They need to deal with community and their government in their own local area. A lot of SMEs have to deal with local government people. They have to deal with community associations. How can SMEs manage these stakeholders? These are stakeholders that are not necessarily their customers or their suppliers. How can SMEs manage these important stakeholders like government, like their local government, like their community? What do SMEs need to do to have a harmonious relationship with their communities and government in their areas? What can they learn from MTN best practice? Tobe, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olu. Good day, everyone. In this kind of thing, the risk is to go through the stakeholder mapping and all that, but that is really for big business. For SMEs, I will suggest a very simple format, okay? And I will use a few words, just looking at your question, to position this. And the first word is to acknowledge, okay? What that means is that you need to acknowledge that you're operating in an environment where there are rules, there are laws that you have to obey. So you need to acknowledge the existence of the local government under which you operate. If you don't acknowledge it, the chances are you will run into crisis. To give a very simple example, and this is going real way down. You see the person on the street who has a stall and is selling pepper or tomato, like Kunle's analogy. Every once in a while, if you're in the wrong place, what will happen is either LASWA or somebody will come and pack your goods and arrest you. So you need to know they exist, and you need to be aware that there are rules and there are things you should do or not do. The second word I will say is cooperation. Where you know they exist and you know that the laws exist, what you need to do simply is to obey. For an organization like MTN, of course, we have the money to bring in consultants, all sorts of people to assist us, to map stakeholders, to look at our laws and all that. For a small SME, you might not know every law. Part of what you need to do, therefore, in cooperation is to get close to those people. In communities, that's why we have several tiers of government. In communities, you can get close to your chancellor, you can get close to your local government chairman, you can get close to the person representing you at the National Assembly or your commissioners. And this does not take much. People would normally be afraid to go to such people. But the truth is, it doesn't take much to get close to them. If you get close to them, if you cannot afford, and most SMEs cannot afford to get services of a lawyer to advise them of all the laws, all you need to do, and this brings us core to the corporation, is to talk to other people who are doing the same business you're doing. Through that interaction, you will be able to know what are the rules that you need to obey. And it is incumbent on you, important, extremely important, that you obey those rules. Because I think it was Thomas More who said, I will obey the law if for no other reason than to protect myself. So you have to cooperate and you have to obey the rules. From a community point of view, you need to participate. That's another key word, participation. What do you do in your community to show that you're a member of that community? For an organization like MTN, we have the MTN Foundation, which is supporting this Revv program in addition to what enterprise business is doing. It's a form of participation called CSR. So when you're small, you probably will think, how can I participate? How can I do CSR? The participation is to look out in your community? What can you do so that you get known? When and if things go south for you, the people in the community can come to the fore and say, no, we know this gentleman, we know the business he does. And frankly speaking, it doesn't matter which business, whether you are a shoemaker at the lowest level or you have a big supermarket, okay? If you are participating in activities around your community, it is most likely that the people will know you and the people will protect you where the need arises. All right, the last word I think I've given the 4 words I want to give. So to bring it all together, this is what I would say.
Thank you, Tobe. Thank you very much. Very important nuggets of wisdom there. Something you can tweet about, very apt, about managing your stakeholder. Acknowledge and know your stakeholders as a small business in your community. Obey the law. Get close to those who make the laws that regulate your business and participate in your community. Thank you, Tobe. These are practical things for a small business in your community that we can apply in terms of building an harmonious relationship with our community. Thank you. The polls are up. If you look at your screen, I think we are supposed to answer the questions. Host and panelists cannot vote. Please note and respond to the polls. Thank you. Now we go into the last section of the webinar, which is putting it all together. And we are very privileged to have the Chief Operating Officer of MTN Nigeria who joined us in the course of the program. Let me introduce Mazin Muro. He's the Chief Operating Officer of MTN Nigeria. He is the Chief of Chiefs. He leads the executive team and is responsible for the overall effective operations of MTN Nigeria. Mazin has got 20 years of executive and C-level experience in telecoms, fintech, and digital transformation. Mazin, I'm going to ask you the last question. Or if, because I don't know whether it's a question we have time could take more, but a very important question for you, Mazin, is that we've learned a lot about finance. We've discussed marketing, getting customers, having the right idea for your business. Idea must follow. There's a nice way in which idea must go first before money. We've learned about people issues. We've learned about technology. We've learned about customer relationship management. How do you integrate all this learning together as a small business to run a good business from year to year? How do you integrate all this learning together to run a profitable business from year to year the way MTN does? MTN makes good profit year on year. What can a small business learn to integrate all this learning together as a small business to run business profitably and sustainably? Mazin, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, if my network is not good, not because of MTN, because I'm now outside of Nigeria. So my colleagues have experienced very good network. So if anything happened, I'm outside of Nigeria. It's not because of MTN. So it's a disclaimer. Okay, very good. So it's a clearly obvious, like today has been very exciting session. I think we have seen all the executives briefed about various areas, how can really benefit our people who are participating in this program. And we always have believed in the SMEs and in the communities that really trying to drive the national development agenda in Nigeria. And when we talk about overall picture or overall, let's say, view about the business, so the leaders who are running the business, whether it's small or medium or large, running the operation has to take care always of togetherness. That's the most important, because usually the objectives of any business are to go far and not only to go fast. So the togetherness is really what is #1 priority for anyone who's looking for long-term plans to be achieved.
Need to remain always positive. That's another also area. Need to be always remain positive. Look at the positive side of each situation and start thinking how best we can adapt and transform ourselves to exit from every single situation stronger and stronger, especially if it was challenging. So this is another area that we as MTN try to practice. Every day we face different challenge. That's because of our role or because of our size. But the practice have shown that we always exit every single challenge stronger and stronger. So that's our message to the participants. Look at the positive sides of every single situation and try to exit, try to learn, and try to win what you can get, and as well try to get exit. So leadership of running of any business is about having a strong and solid balance between the customer experience of for the products that's been produced, ensure the employees that working for the enterprise are very much satisfied. The stakeholders really who are impacting the business, which Toby spoke about, are very engaged. And one more important thing, the family is making sure that they are also happy, because they are the people who really make you feeling well when you go and you leave your home in the morning going to work, and with their support make you very much successful. So taking care of the family is an essential part of any successful individual who's trying to run his own business, and as well to stay productive and efficient. So to be successful at work, you need to be successful at home. That's very key learning for us as MTN, and trying to really encourage everybody. So in addition to that, while working hard to progress with the business, but we need to be always extremely patient. It's not about tomorrow, it's about 10 years, it's about 5 years, about 3 years. If we need to measure ourselves, how are we performing today or this morning, we might not really excel for the future. So it's a long term. The second thing is we need to ensure integrity in delivering our work. If we need to really have sustainable business and sustainable work and outcome of what we are doing, we need to ensure the integrity level of our work is at the top notch. We need to also advise for our participants. There's a lot of things in our plates on daily basis, and definitely there is no time enough to take care of everything. There is a need to really prioritize and focus probably on 20% of those elements that we have in our plate. Probably 20% of those things deliver more than 80% of the expectation. So that's the 20-80% formula is very important for everyone who's really trying to progress. We need to ensure there is a regular review of our businesses, identify the weaknesses, and come up with improvement plans. So the regular review of our business, how are we performing, monitoring the progress of the improvement plans, measure their effect and impact to confirm if the results are positive. Forward, are we going forward or are we going to backward? That way we can evaluate the business performance in 4 dimensions at least on regular basis. 1, comparison to the target that we have set for ourselves, ahead or behind. 2nd, growth versus the previous months. 3, growth versus last year same period to take the seasonality into account. And 4th, benchmark against the competition or against the industry. So everyone in the business should be able to understand the strategy. Everyone who really working for the enterprise should understand the objectives, the goals, and the products. Everyone should also be able to have their own targets. The target should be cascaded down from the top to the bottom, daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. Everybody should have the targets, and everyone should have not only the targets, also to know the result of their targets on daily basis, weekly, monthly, and annually. And definitely the most important, if I'm running a business, the human being of the business is very important. So taking care of the family, taking care of the customer, and taking care for sure of the employees, because the employees who are going to do the job for me as I'm running the business, I have to take care of them, I have to engage them, I have to always ask them for their opinions and what they think about my objectives. So in this today's business, our leaders who are really running our businesses becoming more and more and moving from being executives to being social people within the organizations. So it's not anymore about chief executive officer. It's about having a chief empathy officer, having a chief excitement officer, having a chief engagement officer. It's not more about having CFO as chief financial officer. It's having a chief friendship officer. It's not about having chief marketing officer. It's more about chief motivation officer, and so on and so on. It's not about having chief human resources. We're probably more about having chief happiness officer. So by moving from the executive part of our business to the social aspects of our life, I think we can really succeed as a small, medium, and large businesses in running our operations.
Wow, thank you very much, Mazin. There's a whole lot that Mazin has said. Chief Motivation Officer, as a leader, you are in charge of motivating your people. A whole lot of things we can tweet about. Look beyond the moment. A business is run not just for now. I think a whole lot of things that wisdom we can learn there for a small business. There will be challenges, but the challenges are only for a moment. If you look far, I said look far and further. If you look far and further, maybe what looks like a big problem is not as big. Big lesson for all of us who are leaders. We should be positive. We should galvanize our people. We should keep learning. We should see that putting it together between the customer, their happiness, their experience, the people in the business, and the stakeholders, and of course, the family. If we are working hard, the family must feel it at home. Patience, I thought that was very important. He said it in many ways about looking beyond the moment. Very important for a whole lot of our small business, something to learn. Something not to forget to emphasize. He mentioned this thing about 20% of our activities will give us 80% of our result. If you know that as a small business, you are likely to be very successful. Do you know those very important things that you do, the fewer things that you do that give you 80% of your result? Pay attention to it. It's telling us pay attention to those big things that give you high results. Because if you do that, you're going to be very successful. Then he mentioned something in terms of putting it together, regular reviews. If you do not measure where you are not likely to know where you are going and where you are. If you don't have metrics around your business, you mention things like measuring yourself around season, around your budget, around your target, benchmarking yourself with competition so that you know whether you are doing well or you can do better. A whole lot that we can learn there, making sure that those targets are cascaded down so that everybody is part of delivery of the performance. It's 3 minutes to 12. I think we've had a very good session. I'm sure it's been very engaging. There's a whole lot that obviously needs to continue. I think the fact that we have a whole lot of questions that have come, I think tells us that the engagement around how to support our SMEs must continue. Let me say thank you to everybody and for this time and to our panelists. And let me hand over to Oye, who will say the few words before we close the program. Oye, over to you. Thank you, everybody, and I've enjoyed moderating the program. Please do well, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Olu.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Olu. Thank you. I'm sure you would agree with me that it has been a very exciting and insightful session. I have learned quite a bit. And I'm also not going to, again, summarize because I believe Olu has done that very beautifully for us. So I would like to thank all our panelists and let our participants know. Next week, we will be having the closing out ceremony for the Revv program season 1, and it promises to be an even more exciting session. At that session, we will be announcing the 200 yellow SMEs who have been selected in the course of the series of masterclasses. Remember that selection was based on attendance to the masterclasses, as well as participation in the polls that are always being thrown up at each masterclass. We would also have more to communicate to the SMEs, so please do stay tuned. And remember to follow us on MTN at www.mtnonline.com/business, as well as the MTN Online/Revv program to know what exactly would be following through on this. Thank you, everyone, and do have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.